and welcome to another episode of Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. James is eating. Tim is whatever. I am annoyed. And so everyone is, just doing their usual things. It's pretty much status.
We should change this. We should change the name of this to Breakfast with Racers.
Ooh, or
Breakfast with Drivers.
Breakfast with Drivers, yeah.
Sorry. Normally we do this on like Tuesday afternoons and I'm smashing Panera. This is a Monday morning and I'm eating breakfast, which I don't normally do, but
it looks like you're eating pizza.
It was an English muffin.
It was bread with peanut butter and bananas on it.
Yeah, it's an English muffin.
Are you trying to be healthy in your old age?
No. That's one of the few things I enjoy for breakfast. Becky makes it for me. I don't ever make it. I just don't like breakfast, but she's trying to take care of me because I don't eat enough sometimes. And so she made me breakfast and I didn't really have time to eat it. So luckily we started a few minutes late and I was able to smash it down while we were getting everything set up.
I'm a coffee for breakfast kind of guy.
I feel like that's a popular answer.
Same. It's weird that as of late, I've been the late one, so I apologize, everyone. It is not on purpose, but that is what it is. So I just walked into my office and I don't love election years because it's just a lot of mail that is just so unnecessary that I just throw away. It's just so much wasted paper. I just feel bad for the paper and the trees, dude, because I don't even open it because I know what it is and I just throw it in the garbage. And I
think about that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I also do that with jury notices, but I got in trouble for that. So.
See, I do that with jury notices, but that's because I'm not allowed to serve on a jury because I'm not actually American.
Right.
But no, I think that every time I go to the mailbox, because there's just flyers for stuff that stores I've never gone to or shopped at, things that services I will never use. And it just is, I kind of get it. Like, I know it's like a legacy thing. We've been doing this for a long time, but man, we waste so much paper in this country.
I also feel so bad for like the mail men or women that are delivering these flyers, and it's just a waste of their time too, because they're like have to do it at every house, and they're like, this is some bull. Like, these are my favorite when it's like an actually like well done presentation, and you would think that it is important mail because it says important mail,
right? And usually like action required,
right? Usually important mail comes in these things that say important mail, and I just will throw it away. But I very much think that I have also at times thrown away things that are important mail by mistake.
I don't know. I always feel like if it's really important, they're going to have other means of getting a hold of me, right? Like if it's super important mail, I'll have to sign for it or otherwise they're going to try again.
Yeah. I see. I've done that with emails. Like I'm really aggressive at just blasting through, deleting junk mail. And then like every once in a while, you'll like, I never got that email. And then you'll search it and it shows up in your trash folder. You're like, ooh.
You and Michael Andretti.
Too soon?
No, that one went straight to junk. I don't think it was deleted. It's different. I nearly did that yesterday. I got an email. I'm like, I'm looking at the heading. I'm like, nah, no, not from them. But it was for renewing my Nexus card, which is like very, very important to me. And I'm like, that one looks, and I went to delete it. I'm like, let me just click on it. And luckily I didn't delete it because that could have been bad. I know we're a travel podcast and that was a travel comment. You traveled back from Road America by your airplane yesterday. How was your flight?
It was great. It was a beautiful day and night. So the quickest way to get from Sheboygan back to Indy is to actually go basically Chicago skyline, which is always beautiful and mesmerizing. And it's also just incredibly wild to watch 2 lines 20 deep of commercial airlines just fly above you into O'Hare. And like just the appreciation that I have for like all big city controllers, whether it's Chicago or New York or Los Angeles or whatever, for their ability to sit in a dark little room and keep everyone safe in the sky is very, very impressive. So always fun to do that. And then we're recording this on Monday, as you said, James. So in a few hours, I'm going to then head back up to Milwaukee area to go drive a hybrid in a circle. So that should be interesting.
Yay.
So why didn't you just stay?
Because I was able to be home by 8 p.m. last night, have a meal, dinner. And
what's the point of getting your pilot's license and a plane if to not use it for exactly this kind of experience?
Yeah,
like,
fair
why would
enough.
I want to stay in because my bus was leaving, so stay in like a Holiday Inn in Sheboygan and then waste a day.
Yeah, fair enough.
Did Ed fly back with you?
So we took 2 planes. So Ed was actually my plane. But yes, essentially.
So you just rented a Cirrus?
I did.
Nice. Are you and Ed going together up to Milwaukee?
We are.
There you go. Are you excited about the mile?
I'm not.
Is that because everybody's told you how good it is and now you have high expectations and so you know you're going to be disappointed?
No. It's because but we can talk about it next week. I don't want to start on it before I've been there. So we've got plenty to talk about and we're not going to have a lot to talk about next week. So let's talk about that next week. Let's just say it's been a fairly abandoned facility for quite some time. And
got it.
I saw the state of the track 10 years ago, and I'm pretty sure no improvements have been made.
It's not gotten better. You mean those kind Milwaukee winters haven't improved the surface?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Copy.
But maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. Maybe I won't be. Let's just see.
Who knows? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, talking about new surfaces and old facilities, but with new surfaces, we newish just got back from Road America.
Sure did.
And
James.
What?
I said we sure did, James.
Oh, we sure did. Sure did. Let's go through our typical procedure here where you can tell us about your weekend and then we can get into some of the finer points of the race itself. How was Road America?
Road America, as always, is awesome.
The best.
I wish we could have more tracks like that. 100%. Laguna's close-ish, kind of. Watkins was very similar.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's really where it ends. I mean, I know there's some sick tracks in Canada that I haven't been to, but for what we've done recently in IndyCar, that's really where it ends. And that makes me sad because an IndyCar, I know an IndyCar at Barber in a lot of ways exercises the potential of an IndyCar. Fine. But an IndyCar at Road America, an IndyCar at Watkins Glen is what an IndyCar is made for. And especially coming off the back of Detroit, which an IndyCar is not made to do. Nothing, not even a Chevy Tahoe really is made to do that. It's such a reminder of how cool our jobs are. And I just love driving around there. So
podcasting.
Right. And then as always, the fan turnout was amazing, despite the weather being a little bit iffy for a day and a half. So anyways, weekend was fine. It started Friday practice. We had a preview, I think, a little bit of what was going to come on Sunday with the alternate tire. It's been weird this year. So this was another event where we didn't have a revised tire for a hybrid, despite the hybrid supposed to have been there. So we were back to a 2023 primary, but like a 2022 alternate. Because the 2023 alternate was pretty shocking from a performance standpoint, not necessarily from a durability standpoint, but it was a tire that was actually slower than the primary.
Right.
So Firestone made adjustments and went back to a known tire that at the time in 2022 was very good. The problem with that is that was a completely different surface in 2022. So while the logic was there, I don't know that was ever tested. Now, don't quote me on that, but based on the problems that we had, I would imagine it was never tested. But again, I don't know. So we get through Friday practice, car's a little bit out of the window, whatever. Saturday comes and it's pissing down rain. The Aero McLaren cars, for whatever reason, have the best longitudinal braking and traction that we have all season in the pouring rain. Like it's very concerning and frustrating. Because so many of our issues go away
when it's very traction.
Wet. Yeah. It's
traction.
Super annoying.
Your traction is better in the wet.
Our traction is better in the wet. Like by a factor of 2. Like it's phenomenal. Like I can't really comprehend it. So anyways, we were very strong in the pouring rain. And then as it started to dry, we weren't as strong. So basically, P2 was completely wet. And it just rained. And then, the cell went through and we started, round 1 with a very wet track, but no kind of rain coming down. So we knew it was a matter of time, but before it was going to be one of those sessions where, the rain tire doesn't really hold up for a whole lap and who's going to be brave and put slicks on first and that sort of thing. So, those are always exciting to be a part of. Unfortunately, we didn't transfer out of round 2 to get to the point where, slicks were an option, but nonetheless, we were fairly happy with 9th. We just, like I said, our car is the best when it's very wet.
Yeah.
So we just lost a little bit of an edge when the track started to dry and the dry line started coming.
The drier it got, the relative competitiveness fell away.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. We weren't bad. No. I think we just missed transferring. I mean, I missed transferring by a couple tenths, and around a 2-minute lap, which is what it was at the time. Like, we probably could have done it, if a couple things had been different. So anyways, that was qualifying. So we started 9th. But it was a little bit weird because we made all these overnight changes on Friday to address some of the issues that we had, in the dry. Obviously you don't get any sort of read on those on Saturday. So we go into warm up. It's a beautiful day and try and understand everything as much as we can. And, we had a pretty good warm up, I thought. The car was in the window and we were happy. And so, going to the race, we started 9th. I thought I was going to be, so here's the thing. Everyone knew that the alternate was going to be the problem tire from a durability standpoint. So I was under the assumption that a lot of cars, as has been kind of the trend this year, because the primary tire has been preferred pretty much everywhere we go. The alternate tire has been preferred pretty much everywhere we go. I was under the impression that people were going to start on the tire that they didn't want to run.
Right. Get rid of the alternates.
Right.
And then,
which is what everyone has done, but the opposite.
Historically. Right.
But the opposite, starting on the primary and then getting off those and running the alternates for the rest of the day. So I was like, all right, let's try and be different. And let's start on the primary and try and, go prime. It's a 3-stop race. Go prime, alternate.
You wanted to end on alternate.
I wanted to end on, or see where we were going, but I wanted to try and build, this was the philosophy, try and build a big buffer, in the first couple stints when guys were presumably going to be starting on alternates, falling apart. And then at the end, not only would we have a better track condition because there'd be more rubber down, but also in theory, you'd have a huge fuel advantage because they were going to have to short stint their alternate tire at some point. So then they were going to be having to hit a number, throughout the race. The risk to that is you're obviously exposed to yellow if you're staying out longer than others, yada, yada, yada. But we thought that we were going to be different than everyone, and that was going to be our play. And then we get the tire declaration, and 80% of the grid is on primaries. And I was like, well, that changes our race. So the race goes green, as seems to be standard these days, cluster turn 1.
I thought you were saying it was standing at the race goes green, because that's usually what happens at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
But both.
At least for a turn, or almost.
Both things can be true.
Yes. And we came out of that in third. And I was like, man, qualifying doesn't matter. We're third. and that was followed up by 2 more cautions, which was just a gift for everyone that was starting on alternates, because they were able to do most of their alternate stint under yellow. They didn't have to bail early because they were under yellow. So not only were they doing a full stint on alternates with virtually no demand out of the tire, but they also weren't going to have any fuel concerns going up against the guys on primaries, who were all going to have to put on alternates at some point in the race later on. That being said, the race winning car was on my strategy. So that wasn't everything. What was bad for us is kind of the whole day. So we lost a spot to Joseph on one of the restarts. He was on alts. So, I couldn't get the front tire temp in. So we fell back to 4th, and then we're kind of just running there. Yeah.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
I just remember that. I remember that moment, and it was on the restart. You say going into 1, but you did not defend. Is there a reason you did not defend?
No point.
Okay. He just had enough pace that he was going to go around either way.
Yeah. Like I wasn't that worried about it. Yeah. And I figured also with the way things have been going that he would come back to me pretty quickly on the alts. So yeah, I wasn't. And the other reason for that is I knew the pace that Dixon had. And I didn't want to get into a fight with Joseph and then be exposed to Dixon. And you know how it goes. If you get a bad run at a 1 or 3,
it's half a second,
it can be a freight train sort of situation. So anyways, so let Joseph go. And, so we ran 4th for the first stint. And then things started to go bad. So we had a bad crossover in pit lane, which is no fault of anyone's, but unfortunately, because
Pietro was in front of you?
Unfortunately, because we qualified in the way back in Detroit, the cars that we ended up being racing in Road America. Anyways, so Pietro was coming in as we were trying to leave. So we lost a couple seconds there, which hurt us with Kirkwood. Because we certainly had better pace than Kyle. And I think if we'd been able to clear him, we would have been able to stay a little bit more in touch with the Penske cars. But then that second stint was kind of just stuck up Kyle's gearbox, which fine, running P5, I think at the time. And then we come in for our alts. We have a similar issue to Barber with a wheel nut, but fortunately it was realized this time so that we didn't lose a tire from the car, but then we ended up losing tires from the rubber. But that wasn't as bad as our day was going to get, because about 3 laps into the alternate stint, we had a wastegate failure. And for those that don't know how engines work, when a wastegate is stuck open, you have no turbo. And for those that don't know what a turbo is, it makes the car go fast. And
I thought it was a snail in a movie.
It is a snail first.
Yeah.
And turbos
they
and
named
cars
a part of the car after that. Interesting.
Okay. Turbos and cars that go quick are fairly important at Road America.
Yeah. It's what we would call an engine sensitive circuit,
right?
A power sensitive circuit.
Right.
And you lost a component that makes power.
Yeah. So we were immediately 2 seconds down a lap, and that was our day. We fell from 5th, 6th-ish to 18th.
That's you ended up at 18th.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
But I mean, 2 seconds a lap is insane. That's so bad. It's so bad. Thank God it's like a minute 45 lap. So that way it takes longer for the leaders to come back around and don't go a lap down. That was Detroit. You'd been lapped twice going 2 seconds off the pace. Oh, that's a bummer.
It was so bad that, so the turbo helps in all aspects, but it obviously helps the most kind of in filling the bottom end hole of an engine. And it was, out of turn 5, which is the slowest speed corner on the track.
And going uphill.
Uphill.
Yeah.
When I was heavy fuel, I couldn't I couldn't get to second gear.
The revs are just going down as you go uphill.
So you're usually on the rev limiter into turn 6 up the hill in second gear.
Yeah.
I couldn't get to second. I could only get to second once, like I got to half tanks or less, because like there was enough kind of inertia to get it going.
It's like when the old F2000 cars, when they were still like H-pattern gearboxes, little 4-speeds, and you go to Road Atlanta in turn 1, they turn in like almost flat out in 4th gear, and then at the top of the hill, you just hear like wah, bah, at the top of the hill at the exit of the corner because it's just going uphill, losing so much speed.
Yeah, pretty sick.
Yeah, that's neat, man. That must have been a fun exercise for the last 15 laps.
Dude, it was actually funny. Well, what was funny was they were like, all right, well, in low speed corners, use OT. And I'm like, but there's no boost. So that doesn't do anything. And they're like, yeah, but it might help. I'm like, but it doesn't.
But it raises the rev limiter a little bit. Yeah, I'm not even reaching the rev limiter. Not a problem. Yeah, not a problem.
But it was funny because I actually started to learn how to drive it a little bit. It was kind of funny. So I would brake, get down. I was a gear down everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I would be flat. Like as soon as I was in the gear, I would just turn in and go flat.
Right.
And there was nothing. So, but at least you're getting some sort of rev range going, like,
keeping some sort of engine momentum going.
Very bad. Very bad. It was so slow that this is primaries to primaries. The rear tires were 60 degrees cooler.
Wow. That's huge.
There was no demand on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still. Well, nothing you could have done there, pal. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Anyways, so let's talk about the race.
Well, there's a few big things to talk about story-wise from this race. I mean, there's Joseph's hit, there's Jamie Chadwick winning in the Indy Next, and then there's Canapino not racing.
Yeah, the Canapino not racing thing, I guess let's start there because that happened first in the chronological order of the events that you just mentioned.
Did I miss anything, by the way? Sorry.
You did miss Teddy Porkchops frowning for the first time since he's come to IndyCar.
And Colton being mad about Joseph.
That's not the first time.
That's normal. Yeah, that's standard. That's fine. Yeah, man, I don't know. I was very shocked when we heard that Canapino was not going to be driving and that Siegel was getting in. I mean, happy for Nolan, I guess, but
yeah,
with everything that transpired with the online abuse back and forth between Porsche and Canapino and the teams.
Well, hang on. Back and forth doesn't sound like the right.
No, sorry.
Way to describe that.
I meant that people attacked Porsche and then people started attacking Canapino for his response to that. I just meant they were both getting attacked. They were not attacking each other. No, but thank you for clarifying that. I mean, McLaren and JHR separated their commercial alliance. It's just bad all around. But here's the thing I don't know, right? The thing that I don't know is, well, okay, just in case anybody doesn't know kind of the situation, Porsche and Canapino got into each other. Well, Teddy got into Theodore, got into Canapino at one of the restarts in Detroit. Bumped him, pushed him out of the way, lost a couple spots. Teo got a penalty for it. Fine. A lot of fans online then started attacking Teo. Both the team and Teo made a statement. Obviously, you don't condone anything online negative like that, whatever. And Canapino's response was kind of questionable in his approach, in that he kind of turned it into, well, I haven't seen any death threats, so clearly those haven't happened. And I get hate all the time, and I just let it go. And I don't like the fact that everybody's making it sound like all Argentinians are just bloodthirsty lunatics, which is not exactly how I would say anybody was portraying them. But yeah, just really not reading the room at all, and a very poor response to a very, sensitive subject. But at the end of the day,
also worth noting, not the first time this has happened with his fans.
For sure. But again, he's not in control of his fans, right? This is, I don't remember last year with the Callum stuff, if he ever really had a public opinion on it. I don't remember him
saying anything. Yeah.
I remember a lot of people being mad that the team didn't get more involved and step up to Callum's defense, but that's a different topic. But at the end of the day, the decision was made by somebody that Canapino wasn't going to be driving. Do we know, Alex? Do you know? Did Canapino decide to not run because he was mad? Do you know if the team benched him?
Absolutely no idea. Like, all I've heard is some rumors, but nothing in fact whatsoever. I think everyone was surprised. I think even Nolan Siegel was surprised.
Oh, he was very surprised. Yes. He got called in early from his Indy Next practice to be like, hey, we need you to start getting ready for your IndyCar session this afternoon.
And he's like, my what?
I'm sorry, my what now?
The who?
Yeah, so, I saw on
have no
social
idea
it said down. It was the team that made the decision, not Canapino. But I don't know. It feels like, I feel like that needs the qualifier of according to them.
But that also makes the most sense. Like, a driver's not just going to step back from the car because of some, stuff happening online, right? I would be very surprised if it was in any way his decision. We also don't know if it's a permanent decision or not. So I don't know. It's very, very bizarre situation. And once again, it just, what disappoints me the most is, like, once again, social media has had an influence on the grid.
Yeah.
I just don't like that. That's even a thing. And it has happened and it keeps happening. It's a regular thing now that, like, social media, and look, that's not new to, it's not unique to racing, right? We've had careers ended on social media and other sports. And, like, it's just annoying, man. Like, we're here just to go racing. We're here to put on a show and drive cars fast and push cars to the limit and push drivers to the limit. And I don't know. I don't love that these things are even possible because fans get involved and then people say things they shouldn't to people they shouldn't. And I don't know. It's a bummer. There's no winners. I guess Nolan Siegel's a winner, but that's not how he would have wanted another IndyCar ride, I wouldn't think. So that was interesting. And then Nolan, how about this, man? How about, like, getting chucked in for your first IndyCar practice with this team? A team that you met 30 minutes ago. You've only raced an IndyCar twice before. You're going to the longest track, one of the toughest tracks on the calendar, with some big commitment places.
And it's pissing rain.
Your teammate crashes out on his first flying lap. So now the team's sole experience for the first practice session is coming off you to develop the car. And then, your first qualifying is pouring rain with that team. I thought he did a great job. Didn't really put a foot wrong in the race.
Man, honestly, I wish I could comment. I didn't pay any attention to how he did. No. But he didn't crash. He didn't hit anything.
So. Yeah, just imagine being a kid that's done 2 races and then gets thrown in that situation and has to just figure it out. It's pretty impressive. So Teo frowned for the first time since he joined IndyCar after qualifying. That was, it was heartbreaking, man, because he just like looks like the nicest person. And he's done nothing but smile since he got to IndyCar. And he didn't transfer out of Q1, despite, as you say, the McLarens being objectionably fast in the wet. And he was really quick in practice in the wet too. And how was his mood after qualifying in the engineering office? Because he was very sad on TV.
Fine, I think. Like, I don't know that I really noticed that he was sad. I think we were all a little bit disappointed considering Pato and I were 1 and 2 in round 1. And that the results were 9th, 11th, and 18th. So I think the whole team was a little anticlimactic. But Teo was fine. Teo was good. Teo was pretty happy all the time. I think he had a very good Detroit. And he was strong in the wet. So I think, expectations ramp up quickly, probably unfairly, by himself and everyone. So, like, it's easy to get disappointed when you start to expect, like, in the beginning, you have no expectations and everything is great because everything is good because no one has anything that they're expecting. And then when, you have a good race in Long Beach and then you have a good qualifying in Detroit and it's like, oh, he's figured it out and all this stuff. So like, he's now going to be up there and the guy, and then it doesn't happen. And it's like, how we all feel when we qualify 18th. Like it's not nice.
It's not fun. It's not why you show up to the track.
No. But no, he was good.
Yeah.
He is still the nicest human being I've ever met. Like,
there you go.
Nicer than you, James, which is, I never thought I'd say that, but yeah.
Dude, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. He makes me seem like a, villain from a Bond film. That's how nice he is. It's shocking.
No, villains from Bond films are cool.
Touche. And they're usually blonde and wear black turtlenecks for some reason. I don't know why.
Are they? Blofeld's bald. No, they're not usually blonde. I mean,
lately,
Waltz is kind of blonde.
I would give him, he's dirty blonde.
Anyways,
Javier
start of the race,
though.
Yeah, that's fair.
Start of the race. Well, no, qualifying. Who had it on their bingo card that first and third, almost a front row lockout by Chip Ganassi Racing, came from not Scott and Alex.
Right. Yeah, exactly 0 people. No, it's huge, man. It's so funny because specifically for both those guys, you talked to Linus and he was like, yeah, that red flag for Joseph's crash. Also, Joseph's crash, holy man.
Yeah.
That was huge.
Damn.
That was an oval wreck.
It was 95G.
Yeah. That's 140 miles an hour backwards into safer barrier. That's crashing at Iowa. That's pretty much exactly what a crash at Iowa would be. And, man, huge credit to the track for the safer barrier there. Huge credit to everybody that builds these cars.
So
that's relatively new.
Yeah.
Because that would have been more than 95 Gs if that was concrete when he hit.
Yes.
But that red flag saved Linus because he had finished a lap and then thought he was coming in. So it hit the brakes to come in. And they're like, no, keep going. And obviously the track's getting faster every lap at that point. Armstrong was on a lap to absolutely go pole. And then the red came out before he could finish it. So there was like this tale of sort of conflicting results for those two teammates because of the red flag. But first pole for Linus, got the job done. Good for him.
And then there was a tale of very similar results for both those guys a few 12 hours later.
Yeah. 24 hours later, we were watching them synchronize spinning through turn one. And bummer, man. Marcus just got in hot, got into the back of Linus. I don't know if Linus got loose or something. I kind of missed the start of the race because I was doing some hit from turn 5 and was running back up to the booth. And I didn't catch all the replays, but
I have not watched it. All I know is there was cars and smoke spinning, and for the first time ever, being on the outside at Road America was good.
Yeah, it did not. Yeah, because Colton was on the inside, and he checked up to avoid the spinning cars in front of him, and got plowed into by Joseph and went around. And so there was a lot of conversation. So I forget who it was. Like later in the race, so Marcus got a penalty for avoidable contact, right?
Sure.
Later in the race, Rasmussen got a penalty for avoidable contact when he turfed Kiffin Simpson out.
Yes.
Right. A lot of people were like, why didn't Joseph get an avoidable contact penalty?
Fair.
And I haven't spoken to race control, but here's my assumption, because that's a fair question. The issue is Marcus started an incident, right? He misjudged a corner and took out the pole sitter. Doesn't matter where he qualified. He misjudged the start and took out another car. The ensuing mess caused a chain reaction in which Colton was caught up, right? Joseph wasn't trying to pass Colton. Joseph didn't start, if Colton had clear track in front of him and Joseph just ran to the back of him, it would have been a penalty. But because Colton was being forced to slow up for something in front of him, something that Joseph probably couldn't see happening, because when you're right up the gearbox of another car, big rear wings, you're sitting low, you can't really see what's going on in front of you. So by the time he realizes that Colton's braking at the exit of the corner rather than accelerating, it's close quarters, it's just too late. So it's a racing incident. I mean, is Joseph quote unquote at fault? Well, yeah, fine. He hit the guy, but that's, I think, why it wasn't a penalty, because it was sort of a forced situation.
I don't want to imply anything, so I'm not going, I don't want to say anything. I might be implying something here. Do you think there's any sort of
payback for Long Beach?
Now it's even.
I don't.
Okay.
So you mean from race control standpoint?
Yes. I'm not saying from
because
okay.
Yeah, because I don't think either guy deserved a penalty in either situation.
Fair. That's a great point because I don't believe Colton deserved a penalty in Long Beach. Joseph was very hot.
Right. As Colton was after this one.
Right. But I didn't see this one, so I don't have as much of an opinion, but I was just like, interesting. There was a lot of controversy around that one. Yeah. And then it's the same two guys, but flipped. So is it like,
here's the thing, man.
For a tat?
You and I both know and have both experienced, I hate to say it, but probably more often than you'd like to, the stewards post-race saying, oh yeah, hey, we missed that call, or we made that call and it was wrong. They are very good about admitting when they feel like they've made a mistake. It's frustrating from the driver's seat because you're like, God, I wish you hadn't have made that mistake. But they're human. They only have so much information, so many views on things, whatever. That's not what we're debating. But it's not like after Long Beach, they went to either Joseph or Colton and were like, you know what? If we were to do it again, we probably would have issued a penalty there. Yeah, they were pretty like, so yeah, I don't think so. I think that was just coincidence.
But man, what a string for Colton. Because like arguably the strongest car 3 weekends in a row.
Yeah.
Well, certainly 2 weekends in a row, potentially one of definitely four top three strongest cars in Indy. And nothing to show for it. Like it's
tough, man.
It's brutal.
It's a tough look. But I will say the recovery at Road America was super impressive because he was last. He was last, maybe not last because Marcus got a drive-through penalty, so he was second last. Then Linus drop kicked him, spun him out again on the restart. So then he was last. And from the lap 10 restart,
dumped?
Turn 3, side by side into 3, and he just fired him off. And there was no penalty for Linus on that one. So it's just now been firmly established by the stewards. As long as you're side by side, you can do anything you want. As long as you get alongside them, you're good. You can literally turf a guy into a wall and it's totally fine.
Well, I know that from when Felix did to me in 2022 in Toronto.
Well, yeah, it's true. Yeah. That's true.
Like that's been the precedent for a while.
It's been established.
Yeah.
So he goes all the way back again, and the lap 10 restart, we went green from then on for the rest of the race. So from being 20 somethingth at lap 10, no, yes, I think it might be at lap 10 with no yellows, he drove his way up to 6th. He was 3 seconds behind Kirkwood, who took that restart in the lead. That was an impressive run.
Wow.
An impressive run.
It's because I couldn't put up a fight.
You were less of an issue. Yes.
Yeah, it was pretty easy for him to pass me, I think.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And actually Linus did a pretty good job recovering too. He got back up to 12th, which again, pretty solid, but Colton had crazy pace. Definitely have to throw that honorable mention to Jamie Chadwick for the win in the Indy Next race from pole. Yes. Very impressive performance.
Well done.
Penske on a 1, 2, 3. You got to give them a proper shout out because that's really hard to do. And, aided sure by some of the competition removing themselves in turn 1, but those guys had awesome pace. The overcut is always going to win at Road America. We've now learned that for a couple of years in a row. So everyone plan to overcut next year and let's see what happens. And it's now funny. You go off to Milwaukee.
So we have the fastest, I have a report sports. That's the fastest 30 laps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Power, Newgarden, McLaughlin, and Herta are 3/10 clear of the next car, which is Pillow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
was impressive, man.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Anyways, that's Road America.
Fun race, lots of passing, lots of cool stuff. Who said, is there anything that we're missing from there? Below damage control, finished 4th, best in class behind the Penske's.
Whatever.
At least we've come a long way from sure don't. So,
fair.
Well, that one, like, what are you supposed to say?
So yeah, off to Milwaukee for the test, which I look forward to hearing all about because I used to love racing Milwaukee, and I'm excited. I hope that it's good for you, and I'd like to see you see it.
And we will then talk about that next week, and then it's bam, straight back to Laguna. Remind me next week. I have a funny story from camping at Road America. I have to go, but we're out of time. But it was a funny story. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Also, just real quick, thanks everybody for listening, because Road America, we know, is the best track and it's the best race and it's the best event and it's got some awesome fans. Once again, I was blown away by how many people came up to me and were like, love the show, man. Like you guys are actually listening to this, which is terrifying, but we really do appreciate it. So thanks for listening. Don't forget, we're also on YouTube. Make sure to check it out, watch, subscribe, all that stuff, like, et cetera, et cetera.